Whether you keep them in your home or love to see them in theirs, these are the creatures that bring us all together.
Reptiles. We're going to be delving into the experiences of reptile lovers from around the block and around the world. This is the Reptile Talk Podcast.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What's up, Jeremy? How you doing tonight?
What happened? I don't know what happened. The browser didn't play the video, the intro video.
Oh.
So
You played it for me.
It didn't play it for you. I was staring at a blank screen. So I don't know what.
Oh.
I don't know what just happened. I'm sitting here like, Well, what's going on, everybody? This is Jeremy from Brassman Reptiles.
And I'm Robin. I'm creeping it real.
And if you just saw me staring blankly into nothing for a couple of moments, that was why. It was great. It was great. I'd love to redo this every other time. But yeah, that was an interesting way. Today has been an interesting day. So we're on par. We're on par with how the day is going to go. Oh, you muted yourself, Rob. Hey, there we go. It's been so I was coming back this morning from Mark's place, and in between the exit to get to my place from 77 and the exit right before, there's like a 6-mile stretch of highway where there's no other exit in between, and maybe like half a mile past that exit right before mine, everybody slams on their brakes, and I'm like, oh, so what should have been a 40-minute drive took me 4 hours, literally 4 hours, and the day's just been ruined since.
Ouch.
Yeah, it's been an interesting day. So having my my video fail to play on the browser, we're on par for the day.
Well, at least it's Friday, maybe.
I guess so. I guess so. I'm just like, okay, that's cool. I had things to do today that just aren't going to get done because now 4 hours of the day are gone, but that's fine. It's wonderful. It's wonderful.
I almost had that this morning, but I also know that I'm a ding dong, and so I prepare for such things. And so I was getting my stuff ready to go for work, and I had thought that I had an appointment at 9 a.m. out on the other side of Raleigh, and so I was gearing up, and then I look at my schedule, and that is next Friday, not this Friday, and so I had a whole bunch of other stuff, and I had to go to the office, and so I've got all my stuff in my hands, and then I walk out to go to my work truck, and I'm like, where are my keys? Oh crap, I closed the door and locked my keys inside.
No. No,
but I've prepared for such things, and I've hidden the key outside, and so I was like, if I did not know that I was a space cadet, then this could have been a really bad morning.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah.
It worked out.
It's Friday. What a wonderful day. On a more positive note,
tonight's episode is brought to you by BlackBoxCages.com. If you're looking for a new rack or a reptile enclosure or a rack enclosure, check out BlackBoxCages.com. Lots of customization options. They pre-drill things for you if you're looking for that sort of thing. So setting up your lighting, setting up your heat panels, setting up your heating elements. If you want to put up individual lights inside, they can accommodate all of those things. So make sure that you check them out. Just I can't say enough good things. I produced a clutch of eggs out of my black box cages this year, scrub eggs this year. So
heck yeah.
Pretty hyped about that. And so, yeah, make sure you check them out, blackboxcages.com.
Bam. You can also use code Reptile Talk at checkout to save a little bit of money on your order, because who doesn't want to save money in today's economy? We all got to save a little bit of money when we can. But yes, so go check them out. Blackboxcages.com. You can see their website floating down at the ticker on the bottom of the screen, and link in the description as always to all their socials and their website. How is your season going? What's some updates? You got scrub babies.
I do have scrub babies that are out now, and I am excited because scrub babies, and also kind of really bummed. I went through and did a preliminary sexing, and it's like all boys.
Ah,
I think there's one female in the clutch, so I'm gonna go through and resex them again because my feelings were very hurt by that, because I'd already promised someone a female, actually two people females, and if I don't have any females, then
you don't have any females. What that also means is if
ruh-roh.
you're in the market for a male scrub python, you might be able to get one
Yeah,
this year.
for all the people who have been like, "Hey Rob, when are you going to sell some scrubs?" This is going to be the year. I'm going to be selling some fucking scrubs, man. I cannot sit on 8 male scrub pythons. So
Yeah. Oof.
yeah,
Oof.
I mean, there's some that look like really phenomenal, and
Hell yeah.
I might keep one of those, but I'm probably gonna let go most of this clutch. If I resex them and it is mostly males, most of them are probably gonna go.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of how the cookie crumbles. But also, Fleb is looking really dark right now and going into a shed cycle, and this is kind of the time of year where
Hey.
she goes into that pre-lay shed, and so I think this is a little bit late, but with our winter and everything, I'm like, this is kind of on par. So
Okay.
fingers crossed, hoping for another clutch of scrub pythons this year. That would be lit, especially because I posted some pictures of Fleb's babies, those really crazy black ones, and it's a repeat pairing that produced those. And so that would be really tight if I could hatch out a few more of those, because I would like to get those into some other people's hands or keep some more of them, so I just that'd be cool. I got carpet python eggs in the incubator. I got skunk Borneo eggs in the incubator. I've got granite marble cross eggs, primarily granite, Borneo granite head ultra stripy stuff eggs in the incubator.
Hell
and
yeah.
I might have one more clutch of Borneos. I don't know. Almost everything I paired has laid so far. I think there's one female Borneo that I paired that didn't go.
Not
and
bad.
There's one
Not
that I'm
bad.
like, she's on the fence. Because I don't know. I try not to go crazy with pairing things, but I've got like, if I had to say like success rate of how many things I pair versus how many clutches, it's like 80 or 90% of the things that I pair, I'm getting eggs out of, which is really
hell
nice.
yeah, dude. Yeah, that's great.
So, can't complain there. The carpet python eggs got to be like, I don't know, maybe a couple weeks from hatching out. I've been so like out of my mind, like reorganizing my life over the last 6 months that like,
yeah,
they're gonna hatch sometime. I don't know. The scrub pythons, I was like, okay, I'm staring you guys down the last 10 days.
right.
But everything else, I'm like, you'll hatch out when you hatch out, and hopefully there'll be some cool stuff in there. So,
hell
what about
yeah,
you?
Yeah, so we're right now, the only things that have been hatching out, we had some albino carpets hatch out, which was great. So proved out that the female that I thought was potentially super caramel albino is just a caramel albino, and I'm totally okay with that. So we got some caramels and some caramel albinos and some normal albinos out of that clutch. So that's cool. I was happy with that. Been hatching a bunch of really cool leopard gecko things right now, which has been really cool. Where any day now we'll have some ball pythons pipping and some Texas rat snakes pipping. So they're like pretty much neck and neck to see who pips first. But the ball python stuff will be like triple het, true ghost clown stuff. So that'll be a fun little clutch. And also pulled ball python clutch number 12 today, from Azanthic clown to Azanthic firefly het clown. Yeah, there's a lot of ball pythons happening this year, which was the plan, the final hurrah with ball pythons before we really reduce the numbers. So
He says,
yeah, no, it's happening. Trust me, it's happening. But yeah, so excited about that. What else? Pulled a first clutch of Mex king snakes. So super happy about that. A little 7-egg clutch from one of the granite girls. Had another one. Yeah, had another one laid, but she slugged out, and she ovulated, but the ovulation was odd, and she never like plumped back up completely. So I wasn't shocked that it was all all slugs. And then had a cow king give me kind of like a half and half mix of slugs and fertile eggs. But it is what it is. It's first clutches of the year. And it's also like the first like hardcore colubrid year for me. So as I'm tweaking, getting those down and brumated, like figuring out what's going on with them. But we're literally less than a week away from more corn snake clutches and more Mex clutches, a couple more Cal King clutches. We've got hopefully North Mexican pines. Ooh. That girl's looking swole. Should have a couple of clutches of Mexican Black Kings. What else? We're like 2 weeks away from that Super Stripe Borneo Shorttail clutch. So I'm very excited about that.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's a whole bunch of things have been happening. We're now up to 50 leopard gecko clutches this year. It's a lot of leopard geckos, guys. It's a lot of leopard geckos. I think that's largely about it. And then of course Amazons. Tons of Amazon stuff happening right now. We've got 2 girls that have ovulated and had their post-op sheds, so we're looking at babies probably like late July, early August. And then yeah, exactly. And then I still have a couple pairs that are breeding with females with follicles, so looking maybe like 4 or 5 litters of Amazons potentially this year. So
that'd be cool.
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm super happy with that. And so just things are just chugging along, and it's like that weird time of year where I start to get antsy because I'm like, okay, we're pulling eggs and stuff's finally like getting close to hatching, but we haven't had anything really pip out yet. So I'm like, come on, somebody's got to poke out of this damn egg.
I just paired my corn snakes. I was like, oh, it's still too early. Oh, it's May. Whatever.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Wild corn snakes are hatching now.
Literally, bro. I was finding some little baby snakes recently, and I don't know. Whatever. If they go, they go. If they don't, I'm not heartbroken about it.
That's fair. But
I still have some babies that haven't sold yet, so
yeah, you're good. But yeah, man, it's the fun time of year. It's also the chaotic time of year, because everything's on the go. Then we've got the Raleigh Reptile Expo next weekend. Yep, sneaking up fast. So it's gonna be fun. Huh?
Limey reminded me today or yesterday. He was like, "Are you coming to the Raleigh show?" I was like, "Is it this weekend?" He's like, "No, it's next weekend." And I was like, "I don't know. There's too many things happening right now."
That's fair.
My schedule has been crazy the last 2 months, and I just am doing things too much. So yeah, next weekend I will be there on Saturday, and then Sunday I've got a different event I got to go to. So
yeah, I still got to book my hotel. Woohoo! But anyway, speaking of fun hatching seasons and cool things already hitting the ground, I'm super stoked to be talking with our buddy Ed Komara from Komara Outdoors, because he's been posting some really cool babies that have been hatching out over there, and he was just showing us one backstage, and I'm super stoked. He had hit me up and was like, "Man, last time we were on the podcast, it was cold. I couldn't show you anything. Nothing was happening. Like, now things are happening. I want to be able to talk about some cool shit. I've got new species. Like, let's do this again." And I was hell yeah, man, let's go. So let's get him in here. What is going on, man? How's it going, dude?
What's happening, guys?
Not much, man. How's things? How's the season been for you, man?
It's been crazy. Things went earlier. It was weird, because this winter was really rough. So it's kind of like, it's almost like every year, man, you don't know what to anticipate, especially with terrapins. I broom meet mine, and the ones that are outside in the garage area, they deal with the temperature still. I do heat monitor and stuff like that, but for the most part, they're kind of succumb to the elements, not elements, but the acclimation. So hitting a negative 20 degree spurt for 2-3 days, that was rough. I thought I lost 2 of them, and to start probably the show off with a bang, just to give you guys an idea of how when you think you know everything, you definitely don't. You
Yeah.
know, every year is different. You learn something every new every year. You should. But yeah, we had that cold spot. It was like -20 without the wind chill. Now, mind you, my setups I cover with a tarp, and then I heat the water. I usually let it get to about 50, not much more than 49, 48. But I tarp it to deal with the respiratory, with the the temps outside, and I wasn't prepared for -20 degrees, and neither were they. So 2-3 days after that spout, I just checked on them and I opened up the thing, and well, for my females that decide to remain in the sand, those were the ones that I opened it up, and there was a male and a female, and they were both stuck to the sand like a rock. When I say I had to take like a little chisel and actually like you, if I would have almost took a hammer to them, I would have thought they were going to shatter.
Holy
Damn.
And I was like, oh man, I was really bummed. I grabbed both of them. I'm like, what do I? They're like just stones. I'm like,
Yeah.
God, it was like a good pair, and I was like, well, instincts go put them downstairs, put them in the cleaning trough, and I just put normal cold water and let them sit. Dude, within 24 hours, the male started like lifting. It looked like something out of The Exorcist. The head started like, if you put like a little mini probably mic on their body, I guarantee you would hear cricking and cracking and stuff, because the head was coming up and there were all kinds of weird stuff. Like it was like, dude, like you are not alive right now, but you think you are. Yeah, dude. And then sure enough, within a couple of hours, he was out, and then it took another almost half a day for the female to start, and now they're totally fine. I said,
damn,
That's wild, dude.
that is insane. When I say, when I like could have took a chisel, like that's that. I was like, I've heard, you hear about that stuff. The painted turtles and all the native species, they go to the ground, they're rock solid, it's frozen, but like terrapins, I've never heard of that, especially because they're on the coastal line. I was like, well, they deal with cold stuff, but I was like, so
Yeah,
that was the first for me this year.
that's wild.
Damn.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
But
Dude,
and then
I would've been freaking
on the
hell
flip
out.
side of that, my Gulf Coast or Nate's down in Florida, they hit the ground running in February. I was having eggs.
Wow.
Sheesh.
But I keep them inside because they can't deal with the outside acclimation. So that's to be expected, but that was a nice kind of like buffer. So I was having eggs by the time the other ones were waking up.
Hell yeah, dude. It's always
Yeah.
nice when you can kind of get a good little push into the season, especially when you've got to deal with -20 temperatures
Bro.
and everything's like, you've heard of brumation? We're taking it to the freaking extreme, bro. Like,
I tell people all the time. I said, man, I can, living in Florida for like 10 years, like I can deal with, even like up here, like I can deal with snow. Like, okay, you get snowed in, then you're not going nowhere. But temperatures, it was so dang cold in my outbuilding, which I fortified like 3-4 times more than I could needed to for insulation. It was so cold that it was the cold was seeping through the baseboards even, and it was hard even to keep my outbuilding with my, my snakes and monitors and stuff like that, warm enough. So it got hairy there, man.
yeah, that's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
I'm
Yeah,
glad that
man.
we generally don't have to deal with that down here.
Yeah. That makes two of us.
Yeah, comes with territory, man. It's like you can't have it all, man. So,
And why not?
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna go back to the realistic.
Yeah, right.
Got to get realistic. And you guys took the words out of my mouth, man. You were talking about you having all, you can't keep them all with the scrubs, and you can't keep them all with the leopards and all the ball pythons you're moving.
Yeah.
Like this past year, I couldn't keep them all with some of the holdbacks and turtles, and then. That's just kind of how it is. You got to get realistic, and then,
It's a lot of water.
Yeah.
dude, I every single time, whether I do programs or anything else, I envy the people that are like sealing up shop, then they're out. I'm like, I still got to dump water. I got to do this. I was like, man, I had to pick freaking turtles, man. I had to every single time I had to pick turtles.
Yeah.
So it's easy to get realistic when you have to deal with water, man. 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know what? I feel like on the flip side of that, man, it's like not too many. Maybe I'm wrong, but I can't imagine too many people are afraid of turtles. So like that breaking people into that space of like, I want to talk to you about this awesome creature. Like they're already invested because they're like,
They're
it's
in,
a turtle, you know, like.
Oh yeah, it helps with with my the drop off shipping and and once they got over the fact that it wasn't like a diamondback of what they thought it was. Yeah, I was like, it's like, so I got real quick on changing that to the Latin name, so I was like, I ain't gonna.
Yeah, right.
But it helps with the wife and stuff like that because turtles. I mean, there's no one that's not gung ho, and then the moment I'm like, hey, you want to check my anaconda? They're like, what? I'm glad it's out 100 yards out that way, and not I was like, come on, man.
Right. It's just as cool as like, wait, hang on. Is that another turtle? What are we talking about? Like
the anaconda, I don't even have any buns. I don't know what's happening right now.
Yeah, I've been that's even been a debate lately because I got my male, female, and they're she's been ready. My male's now up to size everything, and I'm like, I never wanted to, but I'm like, I wouldn't mind giving it a shot, but the thing about that is, you're dealing with an animal that not a lot of people should have, and that's why I never wanted to. I got the other one because it was supposed to be just an ambassador educational animal, and that'll get massive and cool. So and she's almost like 12 foot now. I think she's a heavyweight.
Sheesh.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Anacondas, like there's something about the mass of an anaconda that's like unlike anything else. I think just that sheer girth,
the density,
insane. Yeah.
The best way I can put it is when I tell people the density. I said, man, like I got berms that are just as big, if not thicker, but like pound for pound, you can put them all,
not even close.
Put them all up to to bat against her, even combined. No, you got to be on your game, man.
Yeah. I think Barczyk's team just put up a video recently where they measured and weighed their two largest snakes. One of them was like their newer albino tiger retic, and then one was Ivy, and the green anaconda. And I think the retic came in at like just over 21 feet and just under 200 pounds, and the anaconda was like 15 feet or something like that, and like 190 pounds. So like significantly shorter, 5-6 foot shorter, but like same weight. And I'm like,
baby got back.
Damn. It was just like, oh man, that's
strong, man.
That's intense, dude.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the cool thing, about working with this past year and even 2 years. I think it was the last 2 years. I spoke to you guys between my business and my educational program skyrocketing and blowing up. I've been blessed enough to work with such a versatile lineup of animals that I've been very particular on what I get in, but what I work with as well. So that's been pretty cool. I've been able to spice it up a lot in what I do, and because like when you work with an animal so much, not to say you get bored or redundant, but you never want to get to that point.
Yeah.
So it's cool to go out and not just mess with my my snappers, but the anacondas, the black dragon, I got a couple. I just picked up a palmetto at Tinley, which is pretty cool. Corn. Thinking about getting into boas now. But
there you go. The anaconda's the gateway. Usually it's the other way around.
That's the other way around.
Yeah. Well, but dude, here's the thing. Like, if you start out with like turtles, like everything else, and I don't want to, this means no offense to snake people or anything like that, but once you start with like turtles and aquatic and
everything's easier.
Everything is like trickle down. Like I'm like heat, this, that. Oh, yeah, no problem. No water changes other than the anaconda that don't even.
Yep.
Yeah,
water
good thing they
feature.
do. Good thing they do in the water most of the time, but still, frick, man.
Yeah. I was very, very happy that Kevin didn't have massive water features for anacondas because it's already a pain to take care of them. But yeah, maintaining the water system. Pass.
Yeah, I've seen like some, with Ivy and Brian's like some of the videos like, dude, we just cleaned you yesterday. And I'm like, and you're talking about a couple 100-gallon tank. I said, golly.
Yeah,
I
man.
said, I know my water bill and everything's high. I was like,
Oof.
So much.
Oof.
I ain't got time for that, man.
Yeah, right. I've got 6 Pondovacs and
Yeah.
and
Yeah, but
cancer
luckily,
filters.
luckily I try to mitigate even with my terrapins is that I try to, now the adults, I don't have time to do it anymore. But like anything from subadult down, I'm always feeding extra in excess containers. So I just dump and go. Like I take the extra time to do that because it's so much easier in the long haul not to deal with, the filters if you don't have to as much. So like all from subadult down, because like, back behind this wall is all the stacked, kind of stuff. And it's just easier that way. But on the outsides, that's the cool thing is that, they're only awake for 6-7 months anyway.
Right. Yeah.
So that is a plus too, working
I guess.
with their brumation stuff is that, it's a lot of work, when you're dealing with them, when you're feeding them, but also, it kind of compensates as well. You don't have to work with them for year round, but
Yeah. It is. It's something I appreciate about the colubrid stuff too. Is like, yeah, a few months out of the year we get to just turn you off and just leave you be.
yeah. Yeah.
And then I also feel like when they're coming back up, it's kind of like a rekindling of the flame a little bit, because now you're amped. You're like, oh man, like I have of course I'm checking on you during that time to make sure everything's good, but like I haven't really gotten to
mess with them,
look at you. I haven't really gotten to enjoy you. So yeah, that's one of the things I love about having a species that go through those brumation periods. Is like, yeah, man, I'm hyped. I get to actually see you and work with you and handle you after a couple months of being like, that's over there and it's fine.
Yeah.
Just leave it be.
Yeah, and that's the only, don't say downside even to, how I brumate is that I don't want to untarp them. Because you got,
that's fair, yeah.
And I can't see them anyway. It's gonna be 20-30 degrees out there still, and I'm like, last thing I want to do is like open it up and then ruin the humidity aspect and all that kind of stuff. It's just like,
that's true too.
I have to trust, and that's the biggest thing is that every year I've had some things happen. I can only do what I can do, right? So and it also comes down to, I don't want to put it like this, but sometimes survival of the fittest.
Yep.
And just trust the species and what I do, to monitor it and, and acclimate it. But at the end of the day, it's like, I open it up and I'm like, okay, I can't check them all because I got these, the waterland tubs with the massive ramps and they're all up underneath there. I said, I'm not sticking my hand, and that's not feasible, and I'm messing more stuff up with the cycle than by doing that than, my curiosity, The flip side of that, on the other side, when I bring my snappers in, I'm like daddy dog. Like I'm watching them, because with that negative 20, I had to throw the heater in the water and, because it was getting ice, and yeah, they can sit underneath ice, but like I don't want that if I don't have to,
Yeah, for sure.
At the end of the day, I think I got into the cold plunging and freaking checked the water and the snappers. It was like 30-some degrees, and my cold plunge was like 28. I said, man, I'm about to feel your pain real quick, man.
You just cold plunge with the snappers, man.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like I said, man, I can do that with you right now. I mean, I know you guys are a popsicle icicle anyway. You ain't gonna move too much, so
yeah.
But that's been pretty cool, man. I've been working on aspirations to get a new outbuilding and stuff like that, and I'm kind of like at a point where I'm really like not say outgrown, but I've capped. So where the next step is I don't want to go outside of exterior retail and have the overhead if I don't have to.
Yeah.
Do I want to have an outbuilding and then do all this stuff and go gung ho? Yeah, of course. But that would also entail like I want to host things and have a research center. I have so much stuff to where it's like if I can just put it off another year, and to get to that point where we have some property, and I don't have to worry about the neighbors and all that kind of stuff, then that's the ultimate goal is to do it that way, because there ain't no way, if you can do it, great, but like I can't have my animals off site, man. I'm too first thing, last thing, anywhere in between, man.
Yeah. I feel that, man. I definitely feel that. And it's true. You get all the extra incurred costs and everything. And in a retail
That
space, you've
overhead
also
adds
got
up.
it does, because you get now everything's commercial rate based instead of residential based. So everything's just significantly higher to do the same kind of maintenance and stuff. And yeah, I think doing it on the property, if you're able to, like that's the way to do
I
it.
rather
if you're gonna go
I
about
rather
that.
much of myself than anyone else.
Yeah.
Dude, the place where my work rent is in this like what do you call it, a industrial park, right? And the people who own the building were like, hey, so we're going to do some renovations and we're going to increase your rent. They increased our rent by $2,500 a month. And yeah, and the people next door to us have a skate park over there and like bike ramps and stuff. They said they were going to charge them an extra $40,000 a month if they wanted to stay there.
Jesus.
Yeah, so they were like,
Yeah,
I
we're
guess
out.
Bye.
That's insane, dude.
But like I think about things like that where like if you have set up and you're at this place, you're like, okay, I really like this spot. People in the community kind of know that we're here and blah 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 blah. And then the people who own the building are like, actually, we're gonna be greedy. Let's fucking and then you're screwed. It's like where do you go?
I think I see one or two people post just this year. That I think one was in Florida that a shop they spent 10 plus years, and then next thing you know, because he didn't own the property, he owned he was trying to own the building, but and it was they just cut him off and you have 30 days. I'm like,
yep.
To move a pet store,
insane, dude.
Yep.
That's
Mr. Drew and his animals too up in Maine. He just had to do that. It was brutal, man.
Yeah, and
so
my thing is I want to stay more of a, I kind of relate, kind of my aspirations to if you guys know McCarthy's Wildlife Sanctuary down in West.
Yeah.
When I was down there, I worked with them and volunteered a lot, and I love them and Annette and having it on site, but also just it's more of a private kind of showing. They do private stuff to where it's not so you don't need the whole big wow shebang, exposer. Yeah, everyone has their niche and everyone has their lane and what you want to do. That's the beauty about it. But no one you don't have to be a cookie cutter either. You can do new things, try new things. That's my big thing is I want to try to do not just a reptile thing, but an outdoors native and all kinds of different things, because that's kind of my background outdoors. I know I don't want to keep myself boxed into just reptiles. Yeah, that was my gateway, but skulls, pelts, native animals, native species, to where we need to how can we get some people falling in love with certain creatures if most of them you're not going to see them around here, right? That you have to get first, like you guys, I know you're a big herper, Rob, so it's get them out there first, get them exposed to that kind of stuff, and then bridge that gap if the time comes, to more cool. I don't say more cool stuff, but
dude,
more cool stuff.
More native stuff. I like going to exhibits where you can see what the native wildlife looks like in habitat, especially where the enclosure that they have set up looks like it's natural habitat. I love seeing that sort of stuff, and I get it. You don't want to just be boxed into turtles, right? No box turtles. Just, you got more on the horizon than just being boxed into turtles.
Right. So many puns we can go, man.
Yeah,
so true.
I get that, and I think that one of the things that our society as a whole is missing is maybe not missing, but so many people are missing is that connection back to nature. And we're just creatures on this planet. I say that in my videos all the time. We are just another creature on this planet, and people forget that because we got bills. We got to go to work. We got to pay taxes. We got to go do jury duty. We got all this stuff that is removing us from the fact that we are on a planet right now. I find that every couple weeks I'll be outside at nighttime and I'll just look up and I'm like, oh shit, we are on a fucking
we're on a rock zooming through some galaxy.
Zooming
Like,
through space right now, and
yeah,
you know, we're so used to being inside with a roof over our head and ceilings, and you know, you don't. How many people spend time just going outside at nighttime and just looking up at the sky? You know, I know that there's a demographic of people who are also largely people who probably follow our stuff that is connected like that, but so many people are not connected in that way.
Yeah, and that's why, I don't take it lightly that, the first thing my kids, want to do when I get home from school is go in the back and check the ponds, and and who knew that there's a 130-pound giant alligator snapper turtle in the pond sitting there, and then you got these kids over hanging on the bridge looking down, I never take that stuff for lightly and for granted, because whether they want to pursue something or not, that's not my intent. My intent is just the exposure to where whatever you do, just like when I do my programs, my intent is not to get you to necessarily fall in love with these animals, but understanding and appreciation goes so much further along the way, to where who's to say that some kid will be a well-known figure, you name it. And I don't want to say politician to throw it out there, but any kind of figure of influence, that influence could help protect and fight for that animal at some down the road, because it's not unrealistic to say how long do we have some of these species that we get to experience now, this time right here right now. That's why I'm so many people have, since I've been with Terrapins, so many people have come and went, whether it was for the breeding, and then we know we can make this much money and see the demand, but you're talking about a turtle that if you're lucky 5-6 years, and that's still infertile, some 7-8 years, and you get his baby, there's probably 3 or 4 of us still in it. So I find it as much work as it is, it's my mission to, if I have one passion, like I did from the beginning, and I got rid of everything and kept with the Terrapins, that decision has carried me to, I have all this other cool stuff, but at the end of the day, I stripped all that away to just work with Terrapins before my first daughter was born, to make sure that at the end of the day, I'm willing to put in the work for the species, because now I got zoos and stuff like that to where I'm able to donate some cool animals to where they can put them on display, and that's the ultimate goal, not to just make cool animals and just to sell them. No, I want to get these animals in every opportunity for exposure. Hopefully Toledo Zoo, they're like how you mentioned about seeing exhibits that mimic the natural environment. They've even this was like an old greenhouse when I worked there, and now they stripped it all down, and they went all native, to where you, instead of seeing enclosures and stuff, which by all means it is what it is, but instead of just seeing enclosures, you look to the side and it's a whole desert area, to where the animals are just in there, and you can hop over the thing and get a full experience, just walking, and they're just crawling around you and stuff like that, things like that, cool. Where it's you see zoos gearing towards that a little bit more, because they're ultimately making an experience out of it, so it's a win-win for everybody,
Exactly.
So that's the cool thing about the Terrapins now, is that the more people have dwindled away from the species, the more I have to put the foot on the gas, because who else is going to do it? There's no one really doing it, and that's why I can probably push him a little bit more, but but ultimately, might as well just bust him out right here, because he's been waiting, getting in cold water. But you can't tell me you can have the Toledo Zoo was awesome, because they had a sea turtle and some cool stuff you might not want to see. But at the end of the day, if you don't have something like this, almost like a sheer spotless. Look at that beautiful, ornate diamondback terrapin. That is a native species down in Florida that looks just like a mini alien, Yeah. Imagine seeing one of these on display.
Yeah.
and this is going back to little Ed, right? Little Eddie. At 5 years old, that's when I saw my first one of these. And actually, almost what this one will probably be almost grown up, because thankfully I had my dad had a buddy that was in the industry, and he had a pair of spotless Snow White one of these in a big giant tank when he first walked in. And now, fast forward, I don't want to age myself, 20 plus years, 30 years. Now I'm taking a stand with these guys. I don't take that lightly. You're like, look at that little dude. That's a little life that wouldn't be here, no offense, without my passion, my influence, my drive. And that's a life. Like, I'm not here to just make cool animals, but lives. That's why if you see on my social media, man, like from egg development, egg growth, things like that, like I'm so big on just creation, to where you're getting the experience. I'm getting the experience, but I'm sharing the experience with you, to where it's like, if I have a research center, it's like, you might not want to be a keeper, but if you're into biology, like my wife's a biology teacher, then that might be your route, and just biology part of it. So there's so many different ways you can make a turn of it. So never box anyone in. Like next week, I'm going to be doing my yearly animal science vet kind of speech to the local tech school. And now it's pretty cool, because those years ago when I first started doing it, now I walked to my local vet, and then the girl that a couple years ago was just sitting in the classroom is now taking care of my dog. I said, how awesome come around is that kind of stuff, to where it wasn't for what I can get out of it, but now you see the reciprocating of the seeds coming back, to where it's like she's helping so many people, but I was like, oh man, like I know I'm getting taken care of. I know it.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
that was a really cool moment. You don't get many of those. So I when you do get them, though, you got to hold those, kind of near and dear.
Yes, exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. I think that's one of the like doing the educational stuff and getting the chance to do outreach and just talking with people about, regardless whether it's terrapins or even just showing somebody a corn snake or something like that, for the first time, like you never know what that seed is going to grow into, and just just like you're saying, they don't necessarily have to become the next massive social media voice for reptiles, but you never know. They might become a vet, they might become a field researcher, they might become another keeper, and work with another species that is forgotten or just not really seen very often, so you never know what that's going to grow into. And I definitely think that's a really special moment when you can have those things kind of pop up and be like, oh shit, yeah, this is actually really cool.
And at the end of the day, I tell them, I said, man, like, get your education, get experience, get all this stuff, but we wouldn't even expect social media and technology to be where it is today 10 years ago, probably. And
right.
So it's like, it's not too cliche at the end of the day, that you can pave your own way. And who knows true. What that'll look like by the time they're graduating or whatever, So.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, the rate technology is going. Yeah, it could be wild. Yeah.
You keep the animal near and dear and close to your heart, man. I tell you what, never lose that face-to-face aspect too. That I think that's what's most critical and key, is that you can do all this kind of stuff, but at the end of the day, if you ever negate that face-to-face neglect and time, that's what's going to keep you stable, and humble for the long haul, in my opinion. And that's why I don't take a whole lot of stuff in. I don't need a whole lot of stuff to wow you or my programs, or even in general. The moment I start taking away from family or, animal time, it has no part,
Yeah.
Because the terrapins are enough work, man. I tell you what, especially because it's you got a bunch of baby turtles, and then you got all these other tubs of water, to deal with. And I'm like, so yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say so you've got all the terrapins, you've got the snappers, you've got the anaconda, you've got some corn snakes. So what are some of the other species that you've been bringing in?
I got boas. I picked up a pair of Honduran milk snakes because they were already adults. And they had some cool genes. And one was already used for programs, so I wasn't in it for breeding with them, but I was like, oh well, I got both of them. Down the road, if I want to, get froggy, then hey man, I know it's a possibility. That's kind of like what I look for, is more like them serving a bigger purpose. Whether they're for my educational programs, but if I want to breed them, just things like that, to where I have options, but at the end of the day they're still going to serve a purpose no matter how you slice and dice it. Then I got my beardies, and I got a couple, I'm big on tortoise as well. I picked up a bucket list tortoise from Sam and Laura Scucci down there in Florida. I got myself an Aldabra. So yeah, I got that. So that was, and I had a connection with Redline, that they ship with us anyway. So I figured, you know what? Yeah, they hooked me up a little bit. So I waited a couple, and here's the thing, I waited months. So people talk about rushing a gun. I waited months, and it was still like, oh, man, like if it was anyone else, I would like wait until spring. But they knew what they were doing in shipping. but also it was a almost 8.5-inch Aldabra. So it wasn't like a baby.
Wow.
So it was 8.5 inches already primed. And this thing I had for only a couple months, it's already almost 9 inches. So it's already grown almost 3/4 of an inch already since I've had it.
Hell yeah, dude.
So that was, and those are things that, I'm like, man, like bucket list, when I get something like that, man, like I really hold it near and dear, because I'm like, man, like that's something I worked for, and that was an investment. Investment animals, you guys could probably vouch. Those ones always have a little bit of a edge on some of the other ones, just because I think that's what's the quick satisfaction nowadays that people need and want and think they they deserve. It's like, bro, like save up, and and just things like that. And it goes a long way, because you're gonna appreciate that animal so much more. In my opinion.
Yeah. Absolutely. And something like an Aldabra too, man. Like there's something about giant tortoises. Yeah. There's definitely something about giant tortoises, like you feel some kind of extra connection to as it is, but also knowing like, that animal's going to be around. Like that is getting passed down to the kids.
Well, and I have, and I think it helps with perspective of knowing, having a different connection with them, because not just for the potential, but like when I worked at the Toledo Zoo, they had one that was, they had documented like black and white pictures. It was like 116 years old, almost 600 pounds, massive. So I got to like work hands-on with them a little bit, and just, I don't know, it was just like one of those things where it's like when you get to see them and their big potential and realize that kind of thing. And now on the flip side, having that, every time I bring it out for a program or whatever, they're like, man, like this is going to be the last time, because these things can grow 5+ inches a year. Like this is going to be the last time this thing's ever going to be like handheld until like, you're not going to be able to move. You're not being, like there was a funny story when I had to work at Toledo Zoo that they had just giant post holes, with post holes and for the enclosure, the outside enclosure of him, and freaking this round, man, and he could still push them. And
Jesus,
and got out one night, and security seen a giant shadow walk around the zoo, and it was the tortoise, bro.
Oh
like,
man,
he didn't know whether to be freaked out because it was an intruder, or like, what the hell do I do with this thing, man? Like, you ain't gonna move a 600-pound rock.
Jeez.
But
what do you even do at that point? You're like, well, let's try and corral it, I guess.
Coaxed it. Too bad I didn't got males, so we were out of the game on that one. So
yeah, it's like, okay, how do you corral something like that? You're just like, okay, go that way. Oh no, okay, all right, how do we turn that? We're not turning that around. Okay.
A car jack, one of those the ones that you like pump, and then stick up underneath there, and then pump him up so his legs don't touch the ground.
Right. It's crazy. Their personality is so awesome. Like, Terrapin's personality is awesome as well, but on the flip side, like, you know, I deal with turtles and aquatics so much where there's only so much you can do with them. Like they come up from head scratches and stuff like that when I'm feeding or whatever. But like, it's not like I'm like picking it up and just kind of playing with it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
do some health checks, but that's a quick, you know, up and over, turn around. All right, do your own thing. You know, so it's nice to spice it up, you know, a little bit with those. You know, and now I've you know, introduced with these ornates. You know, I was out of ornates for probably a good 5-6 years, and I never wanted to go back to them because of what it entailed keeping them inside. And now that I have inside capabilities, guess what? They came right back up to the
Hell yeah.
yeah. So like now I'm working with four out of the 7 subspecies right now, and I've worked with all but one of them, but like actually now like being successful working with them 4 out of 7, which is awesome because those are gene lines that you know, I would hope that someone sees a difference, like not only in, you know, terrapins, but like in what I work with, you know, because like you're talking about 14 years of work and investment where it's like, if you see one of mine compared to like one that you say, oh, well, so-and-so's selling it for this much. I'm like, but like so-and-so, look at the difference. You know, you can spot an animal gene line quality of, you know, dialing in to where it's like, bro, like you can't, you pay what you pay, but like at the end of the day, you know, you're paying for an animal that's been dialed in so much so to where only you want to get the best of the characteristics and quality, you know.
Yeah,
because a lot of them were that's also the biggest problem of, you know, I don't know if it was happening when I talked to you guys last with, you know, working with US Arc in Florida, you know, Daniel Parker down there, you know, with the legislation, and it was terrible. And these people still have duct tape turtle pictures, and that's what they're thinking that we do still, and that's a problem.
Yep. I mean, we still see these pictures. I mean, with that whole situation out in Florida, but even in some of the other situations where people just like that's what they think of the private sector, and it's like no, like that's genuine bad animal trafficking. That is not the captive reptile industry.
Like, and that's why I even like they're quick little segments, but like I've gotten really inclined to now really make sure that, you know, not just because it's cool for content, but like emphasize when I do unboxing videos, because I've amassed a pretty good following on my Facebook social media, but like most of those are like friends and people that I know locally, and just vicariously that they're like, you know, they'll ask legitimate questions because at least they'll be like, I know you're a responsible guy, but like, can it breathe? And just simple, basic questions where I don't knock them for asking, but I'm glad they asked so I can educate them on, hey, look, there is proper procedures and protocols on shipping these animals, and it's not detrimental, you know, as long as it's done right, you know. So that's why I take it very to heart, you know, working with Redline, you know, and with the packages that are getting shipped out, temperature and things like that, to where all that stuff can go to the wayside really, really quickly, you know, if you're not doing your part also, you know, for the animal's sake and for your customers, you know, whole rounded, and for the industry for that matter, you know. Yeah,
absolutely. Just looking over at the comments really quick. Sean, the duct tape turtle thing that we're talking about is FWC, when they were like basically just trying to showcase that the private sector is bad, that private keeping is bad. They're using documented photos of wildlife traffickers that are trying to smuggle animals illegally, but a lot of them their legs are duct taped in to the shell, so they obviously can't run around and do all that stuff. And they use those really horrific images of people just being really brutal to these animals to try to portray the captive industry as the same thing. You know, and what is equally, if not more frustrating to that point, is the people that utilize those images more often than not are doing these large and lengthy presentations for commissioners and subcommittees. And then on the flip side, when like US Art gets to go rebut that presentation, we get 3 minutes. And it might have just been like a 90-minute presentation that was just given by whoever researcher or whoever's supposed to be talking about the topic. So that's the duct tape turtle story, where that kind of comes. It's brutal because again, it's wildlife trafficking, so it is something that's genuinely very bad, but has very little to do with the captive industry. Like their whole point is like this is how they're coming into the country, and that's how people are getting them here. And it's like no, that's not it at all. Like no, there's a reason why those people are in federal prison, and we still get to play with our turtles in our backyard.
Well, and there's a reason why they're doing it like they are, to get away with it. When you, instead of having a box that says live animal, what are you trying to get away with?
Yeah, exactly.
You know? And to go on that note too, like, you know, it's pretty awesome that I just got I got to talk to Russ a little bit, but I got asked to do the Phoenix show, and I was supposed to do it this past November, but I had my surgery. But so I'm coming back. I'm gonna do it this fall, and I got asked to speak on Diamondback Terrapins for the TTPG conference.
Oh heck yeah, man!
No pressure.
No pressure at all.
You're gonna do great. You're gonna do great.
They're like, what you want to do? I was like, and I almost, and for a second, I almost forgot that I like work with the species. I was like, wait, hold on.
You want me to talk about what now?
I was like, what? Why me? But it's cool, you know, to where a lot of those instances, you know, if it wasn't for me being used to public speaking and stuff, like I would be like, no. But like at the end of the day, you know, there's something that someone needs to hear or this or that, to where if like, dude, get out of your show, and you can't not at least try, because like you're not going to fail as long as you try, you know. And you know,
absolutely.
So I think that's the biggest thing, you know, I love about how our industry has grown, is that a lot of people are not being afraid anymore to say certain things and just, you know, put stuff out there, to where it's like at the end of the day, you know, it's going to benefit, whether it's the species or the keeping or just anything, you know. And you know, obviously you want to take everything with a nugget and grain of salt. Everybody has their own preferences and stuff like that, you know. Your keeping is not going to be the same as mine for Diamondback Terrapins, you know, and that's totally okay, you know. But you know, at least if you have a good foundation of what to do and how to do and how to set up, then, you know, by all means, then go crazy, you know. So
yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. No, but I think that's awesome, dude. I'm definitely stoked for you to be able to talk at that. That's gonna be awesome. And I think that slowly but surely we're starting to see these little glimpses of where the private sector is getting some acknowledgement from the from like zoos and other organizations that are ordinarily have been, or in the past have been, very cut off from the private sector, that really haven't wanted to deal with us at all. And when you start, you know, when you are working with a species like terrapins that, you know, less than 5 people are working with in any sort of substantial number, it's like, well, where are you going to go? Where are you going to go to get some of this information? You know, like you're going nowhere. And Joe Schmo that works at that zoo may have bred this one subspecies one time, but I've bred 4 or 5 of the different subspecies numerous times. I can tell you all this stuff. I have all this data because I keep track of my stuff, you know, and you're not going to get this information anywhere else.
Yeah, and then, you know, at the end of the day, I have a conservation mind, you know, with my wildlife background degree, but I don't use that as a crutch either. You know, I complement it with my hobby mindset and keeping, where it's like, you're not going to get to know these species that are so elusive that most people don't even know about them, yet they're in our backyard and our lagoons and estuaries, and you're never going to see them because they're that elusive. And, you know, so it's like, okay, man, like you can put your radio telemetry thing on and go crazy, but like, what are you going to learn? You know? But
6 beeps to the left, guys. We gotta go 6 beeps.
And I'm not
to the
knocking
left.
that either, because it has a purpose in place. But like at the end of the day, you know, you just that animal. There's a reason why, you know, to where it's like, you know, at least if you have a good gauge on like knowing the animal's preference and just keeping and stuff like that, I think that, you know, it's only going to help complement. You know, like when that's why I want to get these animals in more of a zoological or whatever field, and just exposure wise, because that's going to be in return how we can help conservation also, because there's no funding for these animals at all. They're the first ones to get cut, even if there is. So like, what's conservation able to really truly do with their hands tied? You know, so guess what?
Right.
You know, if you can create a demand and market, it's not a bad thing to have a demand and market, man. You know, and as long as you keep the value at, you know, at the not at the expense of the animal's sake, you know, you always keep that, value high. Luckily, I work with a species that really there's not a lot of fluctuation because there's not a lot of people getting in and out of it, you know, or out of it, but into it, you know. So, you know, I feel honored and privileged, man. But just a lot of diligence.
Yeah, absolutely, man. But yeah, it means so much to see that people's hard work and dedication really being genuinely recognized and appreciated again after so many years, so many decades, really, where the private sector has just been shunned by
you know what I think
accredited
that really
entities.
helps. You know what I think that really helps now that you mention it is that this is where on the flip side of like social media has helped, because 10 years ago it would have been easy to just shut off and shut down and not listen to certain things, but that's where everyone listens now. They listen more to that than,
That's true.
you know, the news and all this other stuff, to where it's like it was so much of an influx to where it's like they can't turn that off. So they had to listen at some point or get realistic, you know, of like, hey, dude, like, you know, if they can have a benefit, it's going to be better to serve as an aid than having, you know, like see it as not just competition, but just like, you know, because I feel like sometimes you can get that kind of aspect to it, because, you know, there's some zoologic fields I know that you just don't want to do hands-on stuff, and that's safety and that's procedure and that's protocol. I understand that, you know, but at the end of the day, like, if, you know, good animals, good quality, good nature, good just hands-on, you know, just all that stuff, that's, you know, also enrichment and serves a purpose as well, you know, and I think that's where we twofold can complement each other, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah, I definitely think that the lines originally the lines were not so drawn in the sand, and then there was this shift, and they've been very black and white, you know, for so many years, and now we finally are starting to see that kind of get blurred a little bit, which is great. You know, I mean, like, we're even seeing it with Ty Park at Iguana Land. You know, like, I mean, getting access to certain animals that, you know, he's getting access to specifically because of the work that he's done with the rock iguanas and with some of the other turtle and monitor species and stuff. Like, it's literally just because of that dedication and ability to dial in on that we're seeing those things take place. You know, and I think that's wonderful, and we hopefully we'll see a lot more of that in the near future, where the private sector really does get a little bit of that limelight to come in and be like, okay, we see what you've done over here, and obviously, like, we can't get access to certain things in the field because we don't have those credentials, and we would have to jump through a million more hoops. So that's great, that's awesome. But now here's what we can learn being in this hands-on space, and this information is going to amplify what you have for the wild. And so we're not here to take anything away from that, you know, and we're not the boogeyman here in the private sector. And I think that's what we've seen for so long, and it's definitely really nice to see that kind of getting blurred. And yeah, 100% you're right. Like, social media is going the way of, like, major news outlets, major media, you know, integration. So it's like, you're not going to be able to ignore it for forever. You know, it's impossible. I mean, we just saw our buddy Christian Caveman Wildlife just did his whole documentary on finding a green anaconda in the wild. Like, went down to South America, did this whole expedition and put out a documentary on it, and it was so well done. Like, massive kudos to him, and he's getting so much attention for it. And he's getting calls from this person and calls from these people and these organizations. And it's like, this is awesome. Like, this genuinely is friggin' great that we're seeing people in the private, and he's not even really a keeper like that, you know, but he's just like, I just love animals. Like, I'm so dedicated into animals, but he's going the total opposite route of anybody else. So be trying to get like a major network TV deal or something like that. He's like, no, man, like, I just want to do this myself. I'm going to get the money together. I'm going to grab one of my friends that loves this stuff too, and we're going to go out and we're going to film it, you know. And I'm like, this is freaking awesome.
And you know what I feel from that is I feel like genuine connection to get to know the animal right? Instead of like, hey, look, let's go down there, let's, hopefully find one, see this, or just, it's kind of like dull is the best word that comes to mind.
Yeah. It's very produced.
If I'm gung ho about terrapins, like, bro, and I keep them or whatever, and I'm like, if you send me out to go try to find them somewhere, like, bro, like I'm amped up. Let's go to find this, and but
hell yeah,
man. On where they are at, and it just changes things to where it's like even I'm sure I didn't watch the documentary, but I'm sure he's genuinely like excited instead of like a phony kind of way of like, oh my gosh, found this or this. He's genuinely, and that's authentic, and that's something that you can't fake it till you make it, and that's 100%. Stuff that's gonna hopefully carry over, to other people getting excited about, whatever other species, and hey, you get out, do this, or hey, you get do that, you get me amped up all the time, Rob, because like I'm not able to get out and do a lot of stuff because kids and stuff like that. But when I see that stuff, I'm like, man, like he's so excited about even the salamander or this or that, like, bro, like, and I used to do that back in college and all this stuff too. So I'm like, man, like, now I posted a story the other day when me and him, I took my little boy to the creek, man, and do a spot that me and my dad used to always go to. And I'm like, man, like I never thought I was, let alone being a husband, let alone being a father, let alone having a son, like doing the same exact thing that I got to do. And I just had to take it in. And I'm like, I don't care if it's just a crawdad crayfish or just a minnow. And then we found that queen snake. And I'm like, what? Like, and just different things that just lined up. And I'm like, and I would never even looked at that or had the eye for that, right? To like be like, bro, right there in the nest, like I just see, like I wouldn't have looked at that. Not saying in the past, but like now when my mindset goes to that kind of stuff to where I know what to look for. I'm like, and I got the experience with my son, and he got the whole, man, dude, it was a full circle coming moment of like, man, like even if I don't get the opportunity a whole lot, when I do,
that much more special, man.
And turn around and make sure, no offense, but capture a couple little segments of it to share with others, to be, it's like, hey man, like get out there and just, it's never for clickbait for me. It's all real raw and organic in the moment. Like I got better at that. And when I started sharing more, people just wanted to see more, so I was like, oh man, like sometimes I used to be so reserved, even going back to the past year or 2 years. And since I've been not as reserved in sharing, like people really, man, like I was at my dentist office the other day, and the lady that takes care of my teeth, she's like, you have no idea. My son, who's like, I think he's like 10, every night he wants to check your social media to see what the next, if there's a new video or reel or something like that.
That's awesome.
If then I was like, and it happened, and it's happening more consistently, just randomly these people. And I'm like, now I feel like, and I don't say an obligation in a bad way, but I was like, more of a fire of like, man, like, oh my gosh, like if put it the way I like to see it is that someone's going to do it. And if someone's going to do it, hopefully it can be the right motive and good-hearted person. And I was like, you know what? If someone's going to do it and see it, then I'm going to do it, and and I think that goes a long way, of like just stepping up. Absolutely. If you have something to share of good, like you heard, just you guys we each have our own lane and niche, so I'm like, man, like it's so awesome because people going back to social media, man, they want real, raw, and authentic, not phony. And if they're getting that, that's what we're feeding them, and they're getting a whole different. We're molding them while they're still pliable from a genuine aspect of these animals, and they're like, that's. And then if something happens or laws or regulations, and God forbid, but like then they're like, dude, like it's like no, that's not what they can distinguish right, wrong, whatever. So like that's how my mindset goes, to where if the laws, regulations in Ohio go, it's not just me you're facing, you're gonna face the whole community, education system, all these different facilities that I've been imparting into, to where it's like that's where the power in numbers also comes into play. They don't have to really love, but they understand, appreciate, to where it's like, if you're going to be someone's guy, be their guy.
Yeah, 100%. 100. It makes all the difference in the world, man. I mean, hell, even Rob just posted recently that video of finding that massive black rat snake And like he sent me the videos before it was posted, and like I was in my car, I was just about to walk in the door, and I was like in my car, and I saw those videos, and I was like, fuck yeah, dude. Like I was so pumped up, and I'm like, it's a black rat snake. Like it's not the most amazing species in the world, but like you're hyped, bro. Like you're seeing one that's like supersedes expectations or thought, and you're just like, holy crap, like this is awesome. And like seeing videos like that are so freaking cool. And again, like to the point of like social media being able to provide that like authentic education and excitement about what you're seeing goes so far beyond the overproduced, overhyped, whatever. And I think that's a massive value of social media in today's world, is like TV with the FCC and all that stuff, like so produced. It's got to be so prim and proper, and it's got to be done this way. Otherwise, it doesn't fit the mold, so it's going to get shelved, and then it'll never see the light of the day. Or when it does, it's lackluster, because they've got to adhere to all this stuff. But you go on to YouTube, and you see somebody losing their mind because they just dove on top of a 19-foot green anaconda, or you open up Instagram and you see Rob freaking out about a black rat snake that's fucking longer than he is tall, and, and you're just like, holy crap, man. Like, this is so freaking cool, dude. You can't help but get excited.
Yeah, or seeing what the legacy has turned into. Like, yeah.
Absolutely.
Just one person who had that passion, desire, and I've been, I was blessed enough to, donate the terrapin to him, who has, I still haven't went there yet. I went before it was opened, and, because I know the person that's working with Aquascape there, but I'm like, man, like, never box yourself in. Sky's the limit, especially when you're sharing it for, and everything will come around when it's supposed to and how it's supposed to. And that's the beauty about it is that never rush authenticity, because that's what's going to make you special and what's going to change the way people see it and how they see it, because it's going to be different, Never sacrifice authenticity, man.
Yeah, 100%, dude. 100%.
So
hell yeah, man. Now I'm all hyped. I'm all hyped. I'm gonna go film content now, man.
It was a little bit better than how we started off the conversation on a Friday, right?
Yeah,
I could have put my 2 cents in there saying I was 3/4 of the way done with cutting the grass, and I got rain and stormed on, and I was like, rain or shine, and I did. And I was like, not very happy walking in. I said, well, at least it's done. I said, okay.
Yeah. Exactly. Hell yeah, man. Well, listen, we've gone past our hour mark, but I'm so hyped because this conversation was great, and I think this is a topic that people are starting to see. And if you're not, after hearing this discussion, maybe you'll start to go investigate and find some of these authentic people and really get hyped and energized about whatever the hell you're interested in, any reptiles or anything else. But you know the deal, Ed. Before we let you go, we got to ask you one final question. And that question is, what in the realm of reptiles, be it something at your place, something you're working on, or something you may have seen out on the interwebs or whatever, what in the realm of reptiles has you excited about reptiles right now?
What has me excited is, man, I don't know. I'm going to have to say just kind of like what we talked about, man. Like, just we're seeing a lot more real raw stuff and more fine-tuned, I guess you could say, instead of like, you see a lot of stuff out there, but now you're starting to see things a little bit more fine-tuned and dialed into where it's like you're actually going to be getting good solid stuff and nuggets from it rather than just clickbait. I think we're shifting out of the clickbait, quote unquote, maybe, and still semi, but at least we're getting like real raw like education and nuggets to where we can learn and appreciate, at any level these animals. Like, that's what one thing is, like, when I do my content, it might be a 30-second or no more than a minute, but like, hopefully you're going to get one nugget out of it that's real and raw and true and organic, from the situation, because it was organic, from when my female's triple clutching, I'm going to post a little reel, but it's like, you're going to get, it's real raw, not just for clickbait, but it's like, that's amazing. Like, did you know this animal can lay 3 clutches in a matter of a month and a half? Like, just, things like that, man. I think I'm getting more excited about, as much as time as sometimes we can spend on social media, it's good to at least know that we're getting something in return sometimes, and more so, and the investment we put in, hopefully I would like to see, but that's stuff we got to strive for on our own, man. We can't let everyone else do it.
Hell
Yep.
yeah, dude. Hell yeah. I'm all for it, dude. I'm all for it. If people want to find out what you've got going on, where they can see some of this awesome content, where they need to go.
Just go to Komara Outdoors on everything. I'm on TikTok. I put stuff on there, Instagram, Facebook, all that kind of stuff. And honestly, I'm a personal kind of guy, so people know where to find me. Just type in my name, Ed Komara Jr. on Facebook. That's where my biggest following is, actually, because I like to give my own my real life story. You know, not just animals, but family. You know, just things like that. So.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah, dude. Thank you for coming to hang
Thank you
out
very
with us,
much.
man. This was awesome, bro.
Yeah, definitely, man. I appreciate the opportunity as always, and yeah, you know, I'm excited for you guys and what you guys got going on, and I think this, you know, I think we need to, you know, stay connected, and I think that's the beauty about seeing every year or 2 years, seeing where we were at and now where we are, and I think that's what. Like we're more amped up than we were last time, and last time we got the flex picture with all of us. That just
That's right. That's right.
now we're just missing Phil, man.
I know. That's right. That's right.
That's been our thing too, you know, that's cool, man. That's real relationships, you know. And I
man,
love that, to where now being in the circuit sometimes with the shows, now I'm really getting to grow relationships with amazing people that I've been following or talking to on social media, to where I think that's been the biggest blessing in the past year, 2 years from my perspective, is getting in the circuit a little bit more, to where it's like I've never been one of those kind of guys, but it's awesome having that privilege now.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, man. I dig it.
We got to catch you at one of the shows, maybe Daytona or Tinley.
Bro, I'm always at Tinley. That's a driving one for me, so that's non-negotiable every March and October.
Hell
fair.
yeah, man.
That's fair.
Sweet.
Jeremy knows, man.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. But hell yeah, dude. Thank you again, Ed.
Yeah.
And we'll talk to you soon, man, for sure.
Sounds good, guys. I'll talk to
All
you
right.
next time.
Man.
See ya.